we happy that they did. I did not expect it to go down like that.
Yeah.
Especially after talking with both fighters on Friday. We do these like virtual fighter meetings now since, we're not all in the bubble. And that was not the game plan that Chon like told us what we should expect. I mean, him to be more, obviously he's shown he has knockout power and that he has some dog in him, but it was more of like, he's a boxer. He works great off a jab for a southpaw, lands an effective jab for a southpaw. Like, we expected it to be like the technical fighter boxer versus like the come forward brawler. And the way that he came out the gate and just how it went, we were like blown away from the jump. And then it was like knockdown. Like I almost got to a point where I'm like, I'm sitting back and watching this kind of as a fan.
Whoa.
No, that was a little crazy. But because of how quickly the action kept happening, I'm trying to write down the knockdowns on my side notes while I'm calling it to keep track of everything for the recap. And I keep going knockdown. By the time I can't even spell Baranchyk, like there's already another knockdown from Zepeda. And like my paper is like a little piece of paper for knockdowns that I keep on the side. And I had to have like 3 papers on the side for the knockdown. It was insane. Like I want to go back and listen to my call because I don't even know what I said, how crazy it was.
Yeah, it was watching it. It was like I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, this is a good fight. Pretty sure it's gonna start off good, and then it was bam, down it goes, bam, down it goes, and I was like, man, that fast. And now in my head I'm thinking, Baranchyk is strong. He's stronger than what I thought he was, and then I'm watching and I'm thinking, man, Zepeda's gonna get pulled into a fight. Like he's not a fighter. He's a boxer. He's gonna get pulled into it, and he does better than Baranchyk does. And it was like, are you serious? Like he dropped him first, but they didn't count it. But he dropped him in a second.
Yes, he did.
And then I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, he's got him hurt. And then he dropped him again, and I was like, oh, Barancyk's not okay. He like his legs, you could see his legs were out of it. But then he comes back, and I'm like, oh my God. I was like, man.
But just how quickly they both got up to, like, what the hell are these guys made of? Like, it's insane. Like, I think that when Ivan was down, it didn't look as bad as when Ivan was down. Did I say Ivan twice?
Yeah. Zepeda both times.
When Chon was down, it didn't look as bad as when Ivan was knocked down. But yeah, Ivan would, like, spring back up. Even if his legs weren't there, I'm like, dude, this is, am I allowed to cuss? I keep saying like,
yes.
Okay.
Oh, this is YouTube. You're allowed to say whatever.
But it's worthy of some curse words because that shit was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, like I keep telling people, I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, they're gonna chill out at some point, right? Like it's gonna slow down. Zepeda's gonna bring it into more of his fight. We're gonna relax and we're gonna be able to catch a breath. No, I mean, it just kept getting more and more and more, and I'm just like, okay, man, at some point this has to like chill. And I think the funniest tweet that I seen about the whole event or the whole fight was both of them are getting up like what did he say? Both of these fighters are getting up like bread out of the toaster. Like they just bounced right up like it was.
That's kind of my point. How quickly like they were down and back up.
Yeah.
And it was insane. But the way that it was, I think a lot of people, like in talking to them just before, and like it was like, okay, either Baranchyk knocks him out or Zepeda wins a decision. I think that's what a lot of people maybe thought that was the way that was going to go.
Yes.
And then after it started, I'm like, we are not going the distance.
Yep.
Somebody's going to get down. And yes, there's no 3 knockdown rule in Vegas and whatever, but I'm like, someone's going down and the referee's going to call it off. Because once that started, I looked at Manny Robles, who was on the call with me that night, and I'm like, it's not going the distance. Like, I'm like, there's no way. Because he thought, he's like, well, if it's a knockout, it's probably Baranchyk knocking him out, and if it's a decision, Chon's gonna win by decision. And it was incredible.
And that's what I'm seeing, or that's what I was thinking. Like once it started, I'm like, okay, either Chon is gonna just outbox him until the very end, or Baranchyk is gonna catch him with something. And especially those first 2 shots that they didn't land on him perfectly, I'm thinking, okay, well, you know what? He's gonna land one eventually, and it's over. And then it keeps going, and I'm like, okay, at some point, one of these guys has to just stay down. And honestly, I thought the right hand that Baranchyk caught him with before he went down
The
was
one
gonna
that the
end
ropes
it.
held him up.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I thought he's gonna bounce off the ropes and bounce into a punch. The ref, to his credit, jumped right in there right away. And Baranchyk, to his credit, he knew it was a knockdown because he didn't keep swinging. He hit him, seen him bounce off, and took a step back, and he actually got punched in that mix-up. But
Like right after
yeah,
that.
and yeah, then right after it was like I honestly thought I was like, okay, he's gonna come out here and he's gonna end it right now. It's over, and bam, down he goes, and I'm like, are you serious? And then in the emotion, I was like, oh, what a knockdown yet, and then I'm like, hold on, he's not getting up. And then it went from highs of what a great fight, incredible, to hey, he's not getting up. He's not getting up. What's going on? And yeah, it was. I mean, it's one of the best fights without a doubt over the last 7, 8 years at least, maybe more.
Mhm.
But like just right off the top, it was incredible. And I mean, that night I think it was one of the most calm nights in the sense of back and forth between people on boxing Twitter, as we like to say, because everybody was just so caught up in what a fight, and hopefully Branchek's okay.
Yeah. I mean, it was just, I don't think anybody expected it to go that way. I mean, there's some fights and you're like, this has the making for a classic. And,
Yep.
this, and I just, that wasn't really the conversation. I think everyone was excited for it and was like, it went under the radar fight that people should be talking about or a good clash of styles. But I would have never predicted that. And I agree. I mean, one of the best fights, I'm not going to go over the top and say, best fight I've ever seen in my life, or, this is like the all time greatest fight. I mean, I guess since I'm calling the fight international at the same time as the ESPN crew, I don't get to hear Bernardo's call and what Tim and
Yep.
all of them are saying until I go back and watch it later. So I had saw on Twitter that Tim had said that he felt like that fight was better than his fight against Ruslan.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, like was it not? Like I've watched Tim's fight versus Ruslan multiple times, and that to me, and I
Yeah.
was ringside calling that fight too, and that was a freaking war. Just the way he came back and
Yes.
he was out of it and fought, and but it was to a point where like somebody's got to stop this, but like no, don't stop it. There was so much of that
Yes.
emotion, and it was drug out over a longer period of time. Where this was like a high impact crash that hits you so quickly that like it just happened so fast that I don't even know for me at that point if I thought that it was better than that fight and or some of the Pacquiao Marquez. It's
Yeah.
hard for me to say, and I still don't know exactly, but it is one of the best,
Yes.
and it
Definitely.
is one of the most entertaining, like unbelievable because of the amount of knockdowns. Like, when was the last? I don't even know. I'm not a historian in the sense, but I've never called a fight with 8 knockdowns ever.
Yep.
I don't know when's the last time we had one that had 8 knockdowns in only 5 rounds.
In 5 rounds.
Like I mean, we could talk about this fight for an hour, but it was just insane, and I'm so glad that Ivan was okay. I will say for the record, I question post fight how things were handled, and I have some questions
Hmm.
as to um, why wasn't a stretcher brought into the ring? Like I had some of these
Yes.
questions and I haven't got answers, and I don't know if it's a bubble protocol. They're not wristband. They're not allowed in. If it's a matter of life and death, like there's a lot of things that I have some questions on as far as because I was ringside for Maxim Dadashev because I did watch the Patrick Day fight and and
Yes.
knew him and there's just I'm more hypersensitive to those things probably now than maybe other people are, but I really felt like they shouldn't have made him walk out of the
Yes.
ring. Like, I just,
And
I don't know. I don't want to get myself in trouble because I don't know what the protocol and the rules is. There's a manual this thick on the bubble situation and everything that they've had top rank and that Nevada State Athletic Commission has had to go through as protocols. So um, I don't know what the
yeah.
rules are in there, so I can't really comment on it. But I know if that was my brother or my husband or something like that, I'd be like, "Where the f is the like? Do not
Yes.
make him get up." And maybe the fighter in him, once he came to it, he was like, no, let me get up, let me walk out on my own power. But I could hear pretty good what was happening, and that doesn't sound like what
Yes,
he said,
and,
so.
and I yeah, I mean for me because I've with Mad Max. I mean that one hurts because I spoke to Max when he was in Fresno when for one of the fights that he was here, and I tell people this story all the time because he was so humble and so just relaxed, and when I seen him, everybody oh Jose Ramirez, oh this guy, oh there's Tim Bradley, oh everybody was running to them. Me because I've been watching Max forever, I was like, I want to go talk to Max. So I went over to him and I was like, hey, can I, get a few words from you, talk to you a little bit? And he looks at me and he's like, me? And he looks around like,
Hmm.
you want to talk to
Hmm.
me? I'm like, yeah, like, can I get you on? And he was like, oh, yeah. And then he said some stuff and he tells me, I'm sorry, my English is not so good.
Hmm.
And I just laughed. I'm like, don't worry, man, you're fine. You never have to worry about it. And then he got the big smile on his face and he's like, oh, thank you, my friend. So when I watched that fight towards the end, I was like, please just stop it. But I knew the fighter he was, and I was like, stop this fight. And I got those vibes Saturday when Ivan wasn't getting up. It was like, okay, get him up, get a stretcher, something. But then, as you said, like later on, I started thinking, is there a protocol for it? Is there something different because of the situations that we're in that they can't just, hey, bring the stretcher out, tie him up, do whatever you gotta do, let's get him out of there. Because when he was walking out of the ring, you could clearly see he wasn't 100%. He was wobbly and everything. So first thing right there, I was like, please, I even text Evan that night. I want to say maybe 10 or 11 that night. I'm like, hey, if you know anything, let me know. I want to make sure he's okay. And he goes, last I heard, he was good, but I'll keep you up to date. And then he did text me a little later, and it was like, from everything we're hearing right now, he's fine. He's coherent. He's talking with everybody. So it made me feel a little better. But yeah, as you said, the Patrick Day one, Max, and all that last year. I mean, it was a tough year last year for boxing. At one point, I honestly was not wanting to watch some of the fights because I just in my head I'm like, man, I don't know if I want to see this again. I can't take that because now that I'm involved in it, I know so many of these fighters. I know some of their families. I know some of these people. I I I would hate it to be any of them, but more so one that I'm really good friends with or one that I know the parents of or anything like that. So I mean, when a few weeks back they had the rumor about Leo Santa Cruz and his dad, that one hurt
Hmm.
because I've hung out with his dad before, and his dad's one of the nicest people I've ever met. I mean, he told me if I wanted to go get Corona, so um, um, and it's
Yeah.
like I was like texting people like, "Hey, what's going on?" And they're like, "No, he's fine." I'm like, oh, man, what the like? Who's saying this stuff? Like now is not the time to joke about things like that. So yeah, now where we're at, it's a lot harder for me, especially to see stuff like that type of fight go down, and then I mean, it's tough, but hey, it also is as we know, it's what we love to watch, what you commentate on. It's what we do, so
Hmm.
we know the risks that come with it. But I've always liked when I do see a fight like that, the response of the winner. Chon was up on his shoulders. He was excited. He was happy. I mean, it was his biggest moment. But then once he realized how serious it was, he immediately, tapped the guy. Was like, "Hey, get me down. Like, I need to make sure he's okay." And he went up to him and talked to him after, and that shows, as brutal as the sport is, because it's brutal. That was beauty right there because it was the human side of everybody involved was like, "Are you okay?" So I mean, it's a sport that we love, but it's a dangerous game at the end of the day. As we all know, you don't play boxing.
And they will forever be linked to each other because of that fight.
Yes.
It will be something that, you'll tell your kids, your grandkids, or, things to talk about. Oh my God, I witnessed this fight, or I watched this, or, if another fight surpasses it and there's 9 knockdowns, like you'll still
Yeah.
talk about it. So they will, their names will forever be synonymous with each other
Yep.
because of this fight. And I was even reading just a little bit ago, I guess, like when Chon went to the hospital, his hospital bed, or he was able to like see Ivan because they were right next to
Yeah.
each other, even though there's curtain. And he said like, that they had some brief communication in the hospital, which reminds me of like, was
Guardian
it
Ward.
Gotti and Ward?
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. So just kind of one of those things where it's like, at the end of the day, and they're two nice, stand up, genuine guys. There was no bad blood. There was nothing
Yeah.
like, they both put their lives on the line for to provide for their families and for our entertainment. And to see that they were able to, at the end of a brutal beating, to have that mutual respect and be able to like once again say something to each other and both know like we're both in here together.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was glad that they were able to also have that moment. And I think that once fighters go through something like they went through, I feel like there should be some protocol in place where like they have to get brain scan
Yeah.
or something, to allow them to be cleared to fight again. Because
Yeah.
there was talks after Max and talks after Pat, because Pat had that tough fight with Carlos Adames, like Max and some of the fights that he'd been like,
Yeah.
if there was a pre-existing something
Yes.
that was there, that maybe it wasn't only based on the fight that actually ended their life, but from before. And I know it's expensive and I know it's hard, and maybe, and I don't know how you would be able to judge which fight after you need a scan or not, but that typically seems like a fight when there's
Yeah.
knockdowns like that Ivan should get a brain scan, and they should really make sure before he fights again that there is no hematoma, like there's nothing, because I don't
Yes.
think that in the emergency room they're not giving him CAT scans like
Yeah.
that. So anyway,
And
that's just my opinion,
yeah.
but I don't want to see something happen to him again and it be a residual effect of
Yeah.
Saturday night.
And to that point, Daniel Franco, um, he got knocked out. They put him back in there too quick. He was knocked out again, and he almost lost his life. Thank God he's
Yes.
okay now, but he's never going to be able to do what he loved to do in box. So that was a prime example. He was thrown back in there too quick. They never checked him out how they should have, and they put him at risk.
And of course, hindsight's 2020, and we sit here and say they should have done that, should have done this, but at the same time, I mean, there was a fight, that fight in Oklahoma City on DAZN,
Oh
where the
yeah.
guy, you know what I mean? Like
Oh
he was out on his feet, and and I'm just like, how the f does this continue? And like,
yes.
has that guy gone and got a scan? Like, there's certain fights that stick out in your mind that don't seem right. And there's a commission, like there are these
Yes.
doctors, they're there for a reason. So
Yeah.
I can't think of the fighter's name, but you know the one
I
I'm
don't.
talking
Yeah,
about,
when
right? Yeah,
he was,
when they're
it was a close fight. He was cleanly knocked down and out, and the referee
and
said it
out.
was a push, and told
Yes,
him, "Oh, you
and
have
then
your
and the
time to get
corner
up."
didn't stop. Oh,
Oh, yeah, that was
so
that one irritated me. And then honestly, on the Charlo card, Israel Vasquez's nephew fought Brandon Figueroa, and I say that fight went on 2 to 3 rounds longer than it should have. And the same thing, you're closer than all of us. You should be able to see what's going on. We can see his face is in pain. We could see him moving slowly. Stop the damn fight.
and didn't he even? Oh, that was in the main event too, where he like in the corner, like his eyes went like this,
Oh
and then he like
yes,
broke back. And I'm like,
yeah,
hello,
that was
that
Rosario.
was in the main event. Yeah,
And he even said after he never recovered from the knockdown in the 6th round. And who brought that was Stephen Edwards, Breadman. He's the one that said if you notice the round or so before he gets knocked out, he dozes off in the corner, and they just and he's like, oh okay, and it's things like that. It's how do you miss that? And obviously, if the camera was on him, they caught that. Somebody should have been like, "Hey, he's not okay. He just fell asleep. Like, he just dozed off for 3 or 4 seconds."
yeah,
Like,
it's not normal. That's not, when you're checking in the corner amongst the other responsibilities of giving direction, water, managing a cut, breathing, mouth, whatever, is to look your fighter in the eye and
yes,
make sure that for their well-being. And I'm not going to sit here and criticize his corner and what they did. Everyone knows their fighter. I mean, look, Deontay Wilder's trainer got
yeah,
the axe because he threw in the towel and looked out for the safety of his fighter. And who am I to say? But there, when those fights are done, those are the kind of fights that there should be some sort of review board or
yeah,
commission or overall body that says, you're not going to get cleared to fight again until we get results of a brain scan or something like
Yes,
that. So
definitely.
that's
And
my thoughts on
yeah, no, that's the truth on it, because with the Wilder one, um, especially with it being Wilder, I think we all know one punch can change everything, and he's one of those fighters that, in essence, has earned that ability to where he could be losing and it could look bad, but we know if he hits you, I mean, you're not getting up. So I think that was one of those fights where everybody was like, "Well, what if he catches him? What if he catches him? What if he catches him?" Until we were like, "Stop it, just get it over with." And Breland, to his credit, he did the right thing. Honestly, we know Wilder's a warrior. I mean, he even said it after the fight. If I talk about, if I kill somebody in the ring, I got to be able to say that if I lose that way, then hey, because I've talked about it, so I got to be able to accept it. Which I commend him for saying it, as okay, you're taking it up, but none of us ever want to see that. That's the thing. None of us ever want to see that again, and we don't wish that on no one. We don't want that to happen. So the Breland thing, I don't like that he fired him, because that shows you how much Breland loves him. Is that he knew how much the fight meant to him, but he was looking out for his fighter. So
and is the most experienced
yeah,
man in that corner.
yep,
And now he's gone. So we'll see. We'll
yeah,
see what happens with that situation. But it's just one of those things again where that's their job. At the end of the day, their sole responsibility is to make sure that um, their fighter is safe.
yep. And speaking of that, when that third fight comes on, you guys better put Christina on there, okay? I don't want to hear none of this nonsense. She deserves a key part of that whole event, not just the fight, the whole event. So again, like I said, I'm being your mouthpiece here because you deserve more time, definitely. And I know you're real humble, Christina. I know you don't like to say anything, but in all reality, you are one of the best there is right now. I believe you're great because I've and I could say it because I'm a football fan too. I've seen you come up from the NFL Network to where you're at now, so I could see from day one to day wherever we're at now, you have grown and become one of the best in the sport. Like I tell you, you're one of the queens of boxing to me, and that's why I had to get you on because I need all the good ones on. So I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you. Thanks,
And
Mike. And I appreciate that. And we'll see. I mean, I hope so too. And sometimes it comes down to politics and you got
yeah,
two networks and you got their big head honcho guys and they're people that have their big contracts and all these things. And I mean, I'm just steadily grinding, trying to put in my work and blessed for whatever opportunities that I can get. I understand that,
yeah,
um, there's a lot that goes into it, but I just gonna keep steadily grinding and
yeah.
it's been 10 years, but it's gone by pretty fast and I'm still, young in the sense of like where my peers are and how old they are. So I'm just gonna keep going and if God has it in the plans for me to have one of those bigger spots one day, then so be it.
And you will. I mean, it's rare, honestly, that I've noticed because you can see how crazy boxing Twitter is. I mean, you've seen the way fans are,
Yeah.
people are. It's rare to see someone get so much love and respect as a commentator as quickly as you did. Like when you came on, everybody was like, "Damn, she's really good," and it was more CP, more CP. No, we need more. We need more. Like, just put her on. Forget the rest. Put her on, and it's funny because, and this is not a shot at anybody else, but you could always see the people that were like, "Man, Max is," or Showtime Morrow. Everybody has their opinion of certain ones. For you, for the most part, it's, man, Christina's killing it. Christina's killing it, and I was like, yeah, she is, like, but it's so rare to see all of pretty much the majority of boxing Twitter all agree on something, and that's one of the things that they have agreed on is how good you are, and that you definitely deserve bigger spots. But as you said, you got to grind to it, and I know you're gonna get it. So as you said, it's a process, but yeah, I mean, you definitely deserve that spot.
It's been, to that point, and I thank you for saying that because it is definitely, um, it's awesome to know that for as crazy as boxing Twitter can be and as harsh as some people can be. And, I try to take everything with a grain of salt, even the really nice things and the really bad things. I try not to get too high on the high or too low on the lows, because at the end of the day, it's my bosses that pay my bills, and their
Yeah.
their opinions are the ones that matter the most. And if they tell me I'm doing a good job, then so be it, even if all of Twitter doesn't like it, right? Because
Yeah.
that's who's sending your paycheck. But to actually get such good feedback, positive feedback, and um, overwhelmingly positive response is really, it's been nice. It's been a blessing because I study, I grind. Like, I'm talking to trainers and managers, and I'm doing everything that I can because I almost feel like I have to be more prepared than some of my peers do. And I think the other really awesome part about it has been, um, it's not based on like my looks or them seeing my
Yeah.
face, or, oh, Christina's hot, or this or that.
Yeah.
Like, you don't see my face at all on these
Yeah.
undercards, especially now. You're just hearing my voice, and you're just going off my knowledge and my preparation and my spit, and not like, oh, well, I'll watch her on mute. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because it used to be that stuff back in the day with
Yeah.
interviews or comments on YouTube or whatever. So the fact that I've gotten all this respect and it has nothing to do with this, that's, to me, that's what's
Yeah.
up.
Yes. And that's how I've tried to explain to people, because so many times with me, like, I watch boxing, men, women, doesn't matter. MMA, same thing. And I'll name some of the fighters that I like, and they're like, well, she's not really cute. And I'm like, I don't care. Like, that's not what I watch it for. You could have the most beautiful woman in the world, but if she can't throw a punch, I could go down to the corner or go to the store, go to the mall, and see that. If that's what I want to see, I could go to a liquor store and probably see two girls fight that can't fight in a parking lot. If that's what I want to see, if I'm watching it on TV, she better know how to throw a damn punch. She better know how to throw a kick. So with me, that's always my thing, is I don't care what they look like. First, because I am engaged and I don't want my woman whipping my ass. So,
I heard that.
so I don't pay attention to that. So, but secondly, I'm also a father to a little girl. So the biggest thing for me is when my daughter gets 15, 20, 25, I want it to be where she doesn't hear, this is the first time a woman will do this, or if she pulls this off, this will be the first time a woman does this. I want it to be normal. I want everything to be in the essence of the way Serena Williams does it in tennis, where it's just known, where it's, can you be as good as Serena Williams? Not, oh, she's the female equivalent to this person. No, I want it to be, it's equivalent, it's equal, it's, can you be as good as that person, man or woman? It doesn't matter. That's my goal for my
Amen.
daughter. Yeah, so that's why I'm always trying to get as much more women on the show, because I want my daughter to see more women in higher places, in bigger spots, and grinding and doing it without the help of anybody else but themselves. And again, I want her to not think, oh, it's impossible for me to do that. I want her to think, I can do that if I want to. I could look at Christina, she did this. I could look at this fighter, she did this. I could look at this promoter, shout out to Michelle Rosado, Raging Babe, she did this. Like, those are the type of people that I want her to see and be like, I could do this. Because she has an amazing mom. I love my lady to death. But I also want her to see other ones, so she knows it's not just one person. There's so many out there that she could look up to and say, I can do it because they did it. And in the fact that I know so many of them helps out a lot too. So
Well, you sound like an awesome girl, Dad, and I love to hear that. And it's part of the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing. It's like my husband really encouraged me, like when I got approached with the opportunity to move from the, color commentator spot to the lead to the play-by-play. I wasn't sure, and I've said this story many times, so I won't get into detail, but I wasn't sure if I was ready for it. And my husband and a coworker of mine was like, "Are you kidding me? First of all, they approached you, so the
yeah.
pressure's not on you. Second of all, look around. Are there any other women doing this? How many have there ever been? Like, you have an opportunity right now to shift the culture. You have an opportunity to break down some barriers and some glass ceilings. And you are a mom. Although I have a son and not a daughter, I know what it was like to watch sports with my dad growing up and not hear women in the booth. So to be able to help make it so that when my son or, future daughter or future, nieces, nephews, whatever the case may be, can um, watch boxing and hear a woman in that role and know that I helped advance that. Because
Yeah.
I hope that I don't want to, it's like, oh, the only female play by play in boxing. Like, I don't want to be that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it would be great if there was more of us, it's just, there's not a lot of those opportunities available right now. But maybe after they see, oh, Christina's legit, or oh, a woman can, then another woman will get an opportunity, and then it will go on from there. So it's not like, I think it's cool to be doing it, but I want more to be
Yeah.
able to have that opportunity and do it. So if it's got to be me that's got to put on and be like, look, you put in the work, you put in the time, like, we can do this just as well. Like, yeah, I've never boxed, but neither has Mauro, neither has Tess, neither
Yeah.
has Max, neither has Jim. Like, you know what I mean? I can go down the list. Like, they're
Yeah.
not boxers either. But that's why we're not in, the analyst role. And even if we were, it doesn't mean that you can't do that as well.
Yeah.
But you got to look at what the situation is. And I'm just blessed to be in the position that I am. And I love to hear you say that about your daughter. I hope she watches some of these undercards with you, or
Oh
later
my
on you can
God,
tell her,
she
like,
loves boxing.
So it's
She
really cool. It's really
she
cool. So
she
thanks.
she likes so many of the fighters. She likes Jamel Herring. Um, what surprised me was 2 weeks ago, I just realized and found out she's a big Charlo fan. She was
Okay,
jumping up and
cool.
down, screaming, "Go, go, go! Come on! Look, Dad, look!" And I'm sitting there looking at her like, "You sound like me during the Raider game. Can you shut your mouth so I can watch the fight? Like, be quiet. I'm trying to watch the fight." And she's so loud. And then I took a few pictures of her, and it's one where she has her hands up like this, and the next one she turns to me and smiles when they show him with the belts on, and I'm like, oh my God. And I just laugh because I'm like, I hope she just likes him as a fighter, because if it's like the little crushes, I can't tell him nothing. Like, I can't go up to him like, hey, I gotta knock you out because my no, like, what the hell? It's freaking professional fighter. I'm gonna get killed. So, but yeah, she. I tell you, she's such a girly girl. But there's times where she's like, Dad, let's go watch soccer. Oh, let's watch it. You watching football? You watching boxing? And she'll sit there and watch it with me. So I I,
Hey, you can
I
be
love it.
both.
Yeah, that's why
I
I
love
don't
I
mind
love
it.
to dress. I love to put my makeup on and those kind of things. But I've loved sports since I was a little girl. I played sports since I was a little girl. Like, you know what I mean? So you
Yeah,
can there can be some of both in there
yeah.
for sure.
Well, see, I coach football right here, Selma Bandits. Right here, I coach football, and I've actually coached three girls, and one of
I
them
love it.
played just because she had to wait for cheerleading. The other two, one of them was my niece, and the other one was this girl named Ebony. Both of them, once they got confidence while playing football, were destroying these kids. Um,
I love
they they like when they played and they would make a hit or do something, you would hear the crowd get louder. Everybody just jump up. My niece had she played defense, but she had a 65-yard touchdown run, and they recorded it. My fiance recorded it, and you could see me running, pretty step for step from the sideline as she's running and jumping up and down. Um, Ebony, in one of the games, she got a sack on this quarterback, and it was like NFL type hit. I mean, she hit him, his body like folded, and he laid there and looked up. And all of us coaches, we seen it coming, and right when it happened, we probably jumped 10 feet off the ground, like in just pure excitement, like yes. And then she got him again later, and it was funny because someone was laughing. One of the kids was running off the field laughing, and I'm like, "What happened?" And the kid couldn't get up right away. He was hurt. And when the coach of the other team asked him what's wrong, he looked over, seen her running away, and said, "Pink shoes, pink shoes," and just put his head down because he was so out of breath.
Oh.
And the other kids on our team were just laughing. They're like, "Oh, she snapped that boy in half," and I was like, "That's not
Oh
funny."
my
Yeah,
God.
but so I mean that helped out, like just me wanting to help girls so much because coaching girls is a little different than coaching a boy. Like to a boy, I could be like, "Man, you better get your ass up and get in there." If I said it to the girl, she might look at me like, but these girls are tough. So I was able to not say that exactly, but they're a lot tougher. But it's still, you got to be a little bit more careful in the way you talk to them. But like I said, I enjoy it. I love helping women. Just I have a strong mom. I have a lot of nieces and nephews. I want to say I'm over the 40s in nieces and nephews that I have.
Wow.
Yeah, and a lot of them are girls. Have three, four sisters. So, I mean, it's I've had women around me my whole life. So, yeah, and I got the ones that are real nice and pretty and dressed this way. Then I got the tougher ones that are still pretty, but will probably knock you out if you give them a hard time.
Hmm.
So, hey, I'll
Hmm.
take it. But one of the things I want to do here is how in any way I can give women more of a chance to get out there and expand. And as you said, hopefully it's not just you that's commentating on fights. Hopefully one day we have, on every network, like, oh, hey, here she is. And like I said with Michelle Rosado, I mean, hopefully she's able to promote a big show one day to where
Hmm.
everybody's sitting there like, damn, she did that. Because the shows she puts on now, regardless, they're still
She will.
damn good shows. Those Philly specials are badass shows. So, and I tell a lot of people too. The way I got started was because of Michelle Joy Phelps. I got started from her. She's the one that gave me my shot. And I tell people she started that on her own, making little videos in the
Yeah,
living room, her
for her
bedroom.
YouTube.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and now look where she's at. She's been all over the world, and she was also
that's
a guest
right.
on the show. But there's so many, as I said, there's so many dope ass women out there that just you just need to get that shot. So whatever I could do to help, I'm always gonna do it. And I mean, honestly, it's an honor to have you here, except for the Charger thing. But we'll get past that because I see I got my Lakers stuff back here, so we're still good on that
Yeah,
one.
we at least we agree on that. At
Yeah,
least we
so
agree on that.
yeah, yesterday was a tough one for me. Both my teams got their asses kicked, but it's all right.
Yeah.
It's another day.
We'll be all right. We'll
Yeah,
be all right. We'll bounce back.
they have to. I was just hoping it to be tomorrow because I was gonna have all my Kobe stuff ready and waiting just for when they would win it, but I have to put it on a couple more days.
Yep. We'll
And
just wait for.
Thursday,
I think that, yeah, you just got to wait a couple
yeah,
more days. I think it's inevitable. I think it's already written in the cards.
yeah,
It's predestined that
yeah,
Kobe's, it's like angel in the outfield. You know what
yeah,
I mean? It's like he's watching over, and it's
yes,
not a matter of if, but when. That's how
yeah.
confident I am.
Yeah, me too. And I always tell people it's crazy because no one. I mean, if you're not as much as a Laker fan or basketball fan, you won't notice the little subtle things. So many people didn't notice when it was 24-8 against the Trailblazers. They didn't notice when LeBron made the shot, I believe, on Friday to put him up 81 points with 8 minutes and 24 seconds left. I was like, he's there. He is there. There's no other way to put it. Like, so yeah, it's to me with Kobe that one hurts. I got the Kobe tattoo right here, Mamba, him and
Oh,
Gigi.
wow.
So yeah, and honestly, after hearing his story and seeing him with his daughters, it helped motivate me to do what I can to help push women forward because he was doing so much for the WNBA. So I mean, even if I could help one person, then that's fine by me. As long as I do some part to help women, then I'm good. Because I have so many women in my life, and I just hope again one day when my daughter gets there, she's gonna say, "Hey, look at Christina's hosting her own thing now. She's running her own stuff, and all these different people we could see." I hope it gets to that point to where it's not again the first time a woman does this or the first time a woman does that. Like, I mean, we just seen the one with Michaela Mayer, and now she's coming up October 30th for her first title shot. So, I mean, I'm really
Yep,
looking forward to
October
that fight.
31st, Halloween,
31st, there you go,
Halloween night.
Halloween.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
Hmm.
see, just look at that. Back to back nights is going to be women on the undercard of fights, but they're probably going to steal the show because the zone the night before, it's Suleiman Urbina and Marlon Esparza.
Marlon Esparza.
Yeah,
Yep,
and they're going to
yep.
bring it. They always do. And then we got Michaela the next night. Man, hands down, I'll put money now that the women will steal the show that weekend. Like I'm that confident. I put money when Katie Taylor and Delphine Pursoon
Yep.
fought. I said that's
For
going to be the
soon.
best
Yep.
fight of the weekend, and it was hands down. So I could see that happening again that day. Those 2 days are probably going to be all women that are going to be left talking about it. Like, did you see Michaela what she did? Did you see what Salim and Marlon did? That's how it's going to be, I believe.
Hard to argue with that.
Yeah,
Hard to argue with
yeah,
that.
they always bring it. So before we go, because I know we're gonna do 30 minutes. We went a little over, but it's okay. Before we go, is there anybody you want to shout out, give thanks to, or just mention real quick?
Um, I mean, that's a tough one. I mean, I'm thankful for Top Rank for the opportunity that they gave me. I mean, 10 years ago to, um, host press conferences on my lunch break when I was working at Fox Sports and doing my thing over there, just trying to be a sports reporter in Southern California, just trying to make it, and here we are now. So I'm thankful to them and the whole boxing community for embracing me the way they have. I mean, like you said earlier, I mean, for the most part, everybody's been very kind and very, you know, um, genuine and positive feedback and things like that. So I really do appreciate that. And it's just a testament to the work um, that's put in. And I'm glad that everybody can see it. And I'm excited to work around so many other women now and have women colleagues that I didn't have, many years ago when I started. And I just hope that there's more. And I hope that, they continue to represent for us in the right way and that, more and more people start to give them more respect because, they're really out here making moves. And it's awesome to see. I mean, like you mentioned, Michelle Rosado and what she's doing. It's you got Brittany Goosen doing her thing over
Yep,
there. And her, I mean, I don't want to like name all that. You got Michelle Joy Phelps, you got Jessica Rosales,
yep,
you got Jordan Hardy, you got Adriana Jimenez. I mean, there's so many women out here. You got Nancy Rodriguez on the WBC side. There is so many, women out there. You got Cynthia Conti, Ring Magazine. Like, I just named like way more women than ever was around. Like when I started, they all have
yep.
legitimate gigs and they're all legitimate women that have been putting in the work. And I'm sure I missed some and I'm sorry if I didn't like, it's like, but just to say the fact that like, I know I miss some, the fact that there are
Exactly.
so many out there. I'm just thankful to be in their company. And a big shout out to Claudia Trejos for paving the way for all of us
Yep.
women in broadcasting because she was the first to ever do play by play and she could do it in English and in
In
Spanish.
Spanish.
So she's the GOAT to me in terms of the women in boxing broadcasting. And I'm very appreciative to her for being a mentor of mine and for the advice that she gave me and kind of the nod of like, okay, you carry this torch in that sense. And, I feel like she could still be involved in a way bigger role than she
Yeah,
is now. But that's not my place
yeah.
to say. But, and thank you, Mike, for having me. I
No
really
problem.
appreciate it. I hope you guys all got some good fights coming up from the bubble,
Yes.
even though I'm not there and I'm remotely. I mean, we got Navarrete and Ruben Villa coming up this Friday. Then we have Teofimo Lopez and Steve
Whew.
Lomachenko on the 17th. And then you have Naoya Inoue and Maloney on the 31st. And like you mentioned, Michaela. So lots of heat
Yes.
coming up. And I'm bummed Leo Santa Cruz and Tank are going to go on that same day
Yes.
on Halloween because I hate when there's two good cards on the
Yes.
same night.
Oh man.
But cool that they're going to let fans. Like I get
Yeah.
that, so that's cool. But I think we got a really really good show that night too. So
Yes.
hopefully,
Definitely. Yeah.
the fight fans win in
Yeah.
that sense, I guess. So
It's hard when there are two shows together because it's like I don't want to seem like, oh, I prefer this. This. It's like I'm gonna watch this. Oh, okay, but let me check what's going on over here. I mean, and as
yeah,
a
it's hard.
boxing fan, how many times have we done this now where we'll have it up on the TV and then we have it on the laptop right under, or we'll have the phone to the side or whatever. I mean, there's been times when the bubble first started, when I was coming home from work, plug my phone into the car, turn the sound on, and I'm listening to the fights as I'm driving
That's
to
right.
work because
Yep.
it's like, hey, I don't want to miss 1 second. I'm gonna just listen to it. Once I get home, there'd be times where I'd be outside the house looking at it until the round ended, and then come inside and watch it. So I
There you
mean,
go. Well, we
it
appreciate that.
yeah, oh, definitely. I mean, it's boxing, man. I've been watching boxing since I came out the womb. I say, like, uh, I have so many different lists of fighters of who I've enjoyed watching that everybody always trips out when I go from one style of fighter to another one because I've been watching boxing since I was born. I'm 31 now, so I've seen so many come and go. So yeah, I have a big list. Um, so again, Christina, thank you so much for coming on because I've been trying to get you on for a while, and I know you've been busy. So I never took it as a shot down at me. It was, I mean, you're working and grinding as you said, but I'm so glad you were able to come on today. Again, She needs more work. She needs higher positions. I will be the mouthpiece right now. Get her on Wilder Fury 3 no matter what you got to do. Get her on there. We'll start a petition for it if we have to. She deserves that spot. She deserves more. You are, again, one of the best that there is and will continue to be. And, yeah, as you said, you are paving the way more and more every broadcast that you do. And you got a lot of work coming up as you did. You just mentioned 3 shows, and that's not
Yeah,
even mentioning November. So,
I know.
um,
I know. It's a
yeah,
blessing though. So,
yeah. So
well,
again,
thank you so much, Mike. I really appreciate it, and thanks for being patient with me and
oh
working it
no
out.
problem.
And look, I mean, we picked the day after the one of the best fights, arguably the
Exactly,
fight of the year. So everything works out the way it's supposed to. So
exactly.
thank you for having me. I look forward to future conversations, and then when everybody can get back to being ringside
Yes,
again,
I cannot wait for
and we can
that.
do this again.
Yeah,
Neither can I.
I
Neither can
cannot
I.
wait till we could all get back together, man. I miss being able to see all you guys, Mikey, Hector, Evan, Lee. I miss
That's the
being able to
fam.
see you
Yeah,
guys at least 2 or 3 times a year, man. So hopefully it
that's
all
right.
happens again soon. And again, thank you so much, everybody, for
Thank
tuning
you.
in. Thank you guys again. This was episode 25 with the great Crystina Poncher. Catch you guys next time. Thank you again for tuning in. Cool. All right.